Dja, everyone. Peace and blessings. Good to see you. Thanks for joining again. Sarmat, can you please once again do the intro for today and the open chant? So we can do it like 2 times call, 2 times response.
Dja.
Dja. Sorry, I just made that go away. Oh, you can still see. Good.
Me. Dja. Greetings and welcome to Seba Dja and our communities Kemet television review series pop-up. Today is Sunday, April 26, 2026, and this is part 27. And so we will begin our program for today with our opening chants, call and response. If you have the chant slide, you can please post it. If not, I can pull it up. Okay, hopefully you are seeing the screen. Sitting with the back straight. Inhaling, expanding the abdomen as you breathe in. Exhaling, contracting the abdomen towards the spine as you exhale out. Otepti nesu netra, anpu webwat nebta jesser, perkeru, kakapet, sinetari makeru.
Otepti nesu netra, anpu webwat nebta jesser, perkeru, kakapet, sinetari makeru.
Otepti nesu netra, anpu webwat nebta jesser, perkeru, kakapet, sinetari makeru.
Otepti nesu netra, anpu webwat nebta jesser, perkeru, kakapet, sinetari makeru.
Offering is given to the Supreme Divinity and to Anpu and Wepwat, Lord of the Sacred Land. The spoken offering is 1,000 beef, maleness, and 1,000 geese, femaleness. This causes the divine to make one true of speech. Om hetep, hetep, hetep. Tep.
Dja, Sarmat, let me see if I can put up the flyer. Sarmat, are you also able to do the intro for today?
Uja, Seba Dja, regarding the text.
Oh, the pop-up flyer, part 27.
Oh, yeah, I said that first, but I can share. I can say it again.
Oh, sorry, I missed. It's
Yeah, so just to reaffirm, today is Sunday, April 26th, 2026, and this is the part 27 of Seba Dja's Kemet television review series pop-up. And today we are continuing our focus on frustration on the spiritual path and continuing discussions looking at the ego and reflecting, utilizing the texts and books of Seba Ma, also reflecting on some of Amenemopet's teachings as well as the precepts of Muata.
Dja Dua. So, let's see. Anyone has any questions, comments? I wanted to kind of just address a couple of questions, comments from last week as well. So while I'm pulling that up, maybe I can go ahead and do that. Perhaps I can do that if I can figure out. Nefer Abnet had asked a question about, if I recall, and if I please, whoever remembers can correct me, but the part I want to address is about the aspect of the rumination of the mind on sentiments and emotions and feelings and qualities such as, like, say, shame. And I just wanted to emphasize that oftentimes when we think of egoism, we think of the out loud egoism, right? The hubris, the pride, the greed, the anger. And, the psychologists on here and are welcome to share about the, it's not suppressed egoism, but it's suppressed emotions. Because remember, we have the fight. I'm going to fight you, the out loud stuff. I'm going to take care of the situation. I'm going to protect myself. We have those types of emotions. And then we also have the freeze, where we're going to play possum. We're just going to stay quiet. We're not going to say anything. We're just going to pretend we're not even here, so that we're not noticed and we're not put in a situation to feel uncomfortable, to feel like vulnerable, to feel exposed, to feel picked on, to feel abused. We're like just going to plain possum, right? That's what possums do. I remember we had a possum here. We have possums around the yard, and my dog like attacked it, and he just and there was a little bit of blood, and he like played dead. We didn't know. Seba and I were like, they are like, is he dead? Is he not? He would not move. So we didn't know what to do. So we like rolled him into an empty garbage can, and then Seba drove him to a park somewhere, and then rolled him out and released him and waited for a little bit. And sure enough, he got up and he ran off, right? So it's a protective mechanism to do that. So we also have that, and that can look like quiet. It looks like GER. That's what I was sharing with you with GER. Just because somebody is quiet and silent and doesn't say anything, that could be even more deeper egoistic are you than somebody who is like yelling and screaming and getting their anger out, but then like releasing it and going on with life. They're both egoism. They're both deviation from the center of soul essence. In soul essence, all waves are equal. In soul essence, there's discernment and not judgment. And again, a Sarmat and any of the other psychology can speak about it. Because I was trying to remember what I'd heard about it, but I did a little, search on shame. And shame also like has this relationship to others in the sense of like feeling judged. um, like either you're just not the norm of a human being, or you're not the norm of a culture, you're not the norm of a family, or you're not the norm of whatever. It's just like you're something else. Like your actions, your behavior landed you in a situation like where like who are you and why did you do that? And like you just so the personality is feeling very um criticized, like very like they did something wrong, there's something wrong about me, like I'm wrong. It becomes personalized, like this little wave is just kind of shrinking, but it's still a wave, but it's just shrinking to like not be seen, not because it's going to be embarrassed. So it's just shrinking away versus the personality that is like out loud and look at me, look at, my new car, look at my house, look at my this, I have this job, I have this money, look at my what. Both are not connecting to their deeper soul awareness essence as the essence. They're not connecting to themselves as the ocean like self. They're still individuated and just identifying at the surface level, comparing themselves to what other waves are doing, what other waves are seeing, how other waves are relating to them. And we each have to, at some point in the spiritual journey, stop doing that, except in a very practical reality way of relating to others, communication with ourselves, communication with others. But how we establish and how we feel about ourselves and how we connect is not even, it's not even us. It's just all there is soul. And if that flows into the personality because we connect with it and we thin out the are you that blocks it, then there will be that inner sense of worthiness, that inner sense of self being, that inner sense of like, yeah, I did something that was bad. The personality did something, okay, yeah, it was against the norm. It was against the family values, against my own values. Like, okay, it happened. Um, yeah, a lot of people saw it, everybody discovered the prince at some point realized he was walking around without clothes, thinking that he was wearing the best outfit. It we have a sense of the personality being embarrassed, but that's all like the personality, and it will gauge the personality how to respond. Like maybe the personality has to go, if there were children seeing the personality naked and the personality didn't mean for that to happen because they thought they were clothed but they weren't, then they may have to like, oh, go apologize. They might get in trouble because now it's like exposure, all what I'm saying. I'm just using that example. There's that children's story, the emperor has no clothes on. So being in a situation where you think you're doing, you're okay, like you didn't even thinking about it, but then you realize it's like, you just did something against your values. If it was against others' values, but not your own, you probably wouldn't care as much. But when it's against your own values, you have a little bit more caring. Or if you have that sensitivity to how others view. And this is all normal for the animal aspect of the personality, because humans live in communities and cultures. Like, they say dog lives in packs, and that's true and not true at the same time. But human lives in community and cultures, and so our survival is hardcore wired in to having this sense of community. Community is predictability. You're living with others that are predictable. They have similar values to you. They're not doing things that are just like crazy, that like, and you have to be on edge all the time. You have to be on edge because you don't know if they're going to come and kill you, if they're not going to come and kill you. You don't know what's going on. You're living with people who care about you, who want the best for your well-being. So you're able to relax in your personality. And whether or not you believe in a god or a divinity of any kind, you're going to experience that soul as that joyful, peaceful nature and be a relaxed personality that is generally happy and cheerful. That's going to happen. So you see that happening in different cultures that, have different, spiritual beliefs, but, that are more relaxed cultures, less judgmental, sometimes closer to nature, we say. So anyway, just to say that um, these types of experiences and feelings and that we have, that we're ruminating about, is to become aware of it. That's like the gap, the G for the gap, the gentle inquiry, requiring reflecting on gently, reflecting on, this is not something that is like, even if it seems still, even when we do a deliberate action, really it's are you. It's an are you deliberation. Like if we could have stopped it And if we understood it was really bad from the soul awareness and we were connected to the soul, we wouldn't do it. Like, Maya Angelou says, if we know better, we do better. We just think that people know better because they're adults, or they've heard something, that means that they know it, or they have control of their are you. Well, I said that, I shared you, I told you not to do that. Why did you do it? Because of are you. Because of are you. That's the why. And the are you doesn't have like this filter in it. It just has this impulsivity of these feelings, emotions there that, you know, came from some sort of like maybe a little bit urge, impulsive, intense type of feeling, emotion process in real time, and then, you know, lodge itself as the are you, and now it's coming back out because it's triggered by the situation. So a big part of it is like going into those types of reflections of, from the heart, from the soul, from the abneter, and attuning to that, what the sages have told us about this experience, even when it has not experienced as we've been told about it. Sage Amenemopet calls it Hu. It's like authoritative, Hu, authoritative teachings. And so this is where the faith, the informed faith, comes in to facilitate that process. Like, if the sages says, like, um, just, you don't have to ruminate in it. You can absolutely let it go, and it'll be okay. You will be okay, and it'll actually be better for the personality because you have a conscience and you were aware that it was something that it was against your values. So you're going to work and fixing that. You, as a matter of fact, you've been working and fixing that. You're going to make some adjustments, but you're going to move forward because, you are spirit. Then you would try to do that. And right, it's just like just the rumination process is comes up repetitively. So the Sao Nebuger process, the awareness of Nebuger, the awareness of our true essence, has to be affirmed repetitively. And so every time the rumination comes up, the affirmation has to be there. And that's part of the stopgap technique. Whatever comes up, you're going to do the opposite. And the opposite could just be, your hekau. The opposite can be a breath. The opposite can be a visualization of Heru-Set, that you're Heru-Set. The opposite can be a visualization that you are a moon. However, that opposite is for you. Here I'm doing some of the opposite with the emotions because I want us to have an automatic reflex to be able to give the emotional aspect of our personality something, an emotion to feel, but not a suppressive emotion, but a transformative emotion. So I'm not shifting it automatically to the head and saying like you are, but you are soul, you are that is for the mind to do. The mind does that, but also the body aspect, the somatic aspect, where the emotions are aligned with the feelings, that we're doing the opposite feeling to give that a way to feel, to let it know there are so many other ways to feel that are good, that in line with your alignment with your true essence. And we're going to focus on those feelings, right feeling, right thinking, both need to be worked on, not just the head, but the are you in the heart also, which is more of a feeling type of impression. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Oja,
Uja, or comments? Mhm.
Dua. So I thought I appreciate your description and the stop gate, because I think the question from last week had particularly asked about like how in the moment does one respond, and so the description that you gave now about using the hekau, I think also really hit the nail on the head in relationship to the question. And well, I just wanted to affirm that there was one other piece, but it left me.
Well, if it comes back to you, um, you're welcome to share. Is it about what I was, what I mentioned, that you all may have input on the like egoism, like aspects of it that are more expressed loudly, but the aspects of it, like the silence, like the things that are related to um, even shut down and things like that, that those also like they're on, I don't want to say they're under egoism, but they're egoisms that are still not a normalized ego, as Seba would say. Like it, like the ego personality first has to be like a normalized ego, like a healthy ego. It has a healthy sense of self, but it doesn't go into these emotional things like beyond the 20 to 90 seconds. It doesn't like ruminate, doesn't dwell in those things, a lot. It's like normalized. So then from there, you have the abnormal, which are like the too much, and then you have the suppressed type of emotions and suppressed type of feelings and the suppressed thoughts, which are still not the normal healthy ego. So when you go into the teachings with those highs and lows of uh, expression, which are still egoistic, because egoism just means that you're not affirming that your true essence is the disciplinary egoism, or the disciplinary aspect of affirmation of your true essence until it becomes experiential. You're not affirming that your true essence is soul. um, and here, in the mystical lineage, right, I have like, Heru, the aspirant, and then I have like Asar, Ra, and Nebuchadnezzar, right? So here, like this, we're really focusing right now on Asar, like what it means, like in that mystical lineage, like to really get into your soul Asar awareness. That's why we were referencing it with Sage Amenemopet, because he really talks about the Abnetter as the soul in the heart. So we're using his reference to really give us a deeper insight and understanding in that mystical lineage when we say Nukasar, like how it impacts us, what it means. Like when we say Nukra, that's the recognition of the universal spiritual reality, what I call the rusher, right? We recognizing that this is all raw stuff. This is all raw consciousness, right? And now Asar is saying, yeah, it's all raw consciousness, but in the human being, there's this really special feature where there's a way that that consciousness formulates and reflects in the mind of the human being to bring this aspect of awareness to kind of a height, and the self-awareness, and then awareness of its deeper essence as awareness, as the awareness itself, the awareness source, the awareness itself. So right now we are on the Asar aspect, the soul, and we're equating that with the Abnetter, the soul that Sage Amenemopet is talking about. So Asarmat, was it related to any of those things, like the how the egoism can express in different ways, expressing from the limbic system associations, but yet aspirants can correlate it in themselves or in others to be, more of a soul expression, like a healthier soul expression.
Neat. And I think I was thinking about like in the counseling context, because you started off yet last class saying how some of this can be addressed in that counseling and psychological context around the ego, that it is important to Puja. It is important to be able to, in that counseling portion, understand that this is all the ego stuff, and that the counseling kind of helps the person tease through it. And if it's not a spiritually oriented counseling, the counselor isn't going to necessarily touch on that soul and know that that's sort of where you're trying to support the person to get to. Um, so just that, yeah, the being able to kind of tease apart it in the counseling process helps you to recognize it and recognize that this is all ego stuff. And then the spiritual components can help one bring in the recognition of one's true, deeper essence, the rusher.
That's how to, you know, uh, another example of one of the other ones, like the shutdown process. Um, the shutdown could be equated, like shutdown, if like one is just really overwhelmed and frustrated with life or frustrated with the world, and like it's like, I'm done, I don't want to have anything to do. You come into this, gets into those issues like what's called, and I put in big quotations, spiritual bypassing, right? One gets into the teachings, and when one learns like, oh, one is supposed to be a silent personality and one is supposed to be quiet, and one is supposed to like being alone, not like going out and hanging out with a lot of people, but stay to oneself and go like, oh, okay, well, I'm kind of doing that already. But really, one is a withdrawal that is psychologically not healthy, and the other one is a well integrated, spiritually attuned personality. But exteriorly, you see the person sitting quietly, not joining events, not coming to things, just preferring to be quiet, preferring to be silent. It can look like exactly the same. So that's something to be aware of, even in one's personality. It's funny that they say, Sarma and other psychologists on it, right? They say like, one of the reasons, well, I don't know if they say that, but like, I think women live longer, at least it's been that way in the past. I don't know so, but like women, who I think it's Garamate, in one of his books or talks, there's a study that women who I think got upset get upset, like just angry at their house and the husbands and like yell at one of them, they live longer than the women who go along, they're quiet, they don't ruffle the feathers. He was making a joke about his wife because there was he was making a joke to his wife. It was like, why can't you be one of the ones that don't ruffle the feathers? you know, um, he was teasing her because of the study, I guess, that, because she's not one of those that don't ruffle the feathers. Was a personality that, get upset and get angry if things weren't going right, or if she, had something to do with him. So not, I'm not advocating for that, but sometimes it's not a healthy way to release from a spiritual perspective, but sometimes even for an aspirant, uh, it may be the right action in it may be a reaction in the moment, depending on the scenario, depending on the like we always make the thing like a child is going across the street, like oh, don't do, you might want to yell and scream, hey, what are you doing, stop doing it, get back over here, you may have to make a big deal. And sometimes like speaking to aspirants or other family members or things like that who are those types of agitated personalities who are loud, like if you say something quiet, they might just think that you are, you're not talking to them, or you just don't even believe in what you're saying, because they're used to like, if you believe in what you're saying, you speak with passion. That may be their framework. So you might wonder, why is this person not listening to me? Because you're going around being a yoga personality. I would really appreciate you not doing that. It would be really helpful if you would do this instead. And they're like, doesn't like, it barely hears the enters their ears, and it certainly doesn't touch their deeper sense of like, this person is talking to me and asking me to do something. So if your relationships with someone has been like really that kind of relationship, very active communication, and all of a sudden you go quiet, like there's going to be such a disbalance for the other person that you may wonder like, what happened, like like they're so loud now, they're so this, I can't be with them. So you might have to respond to them in a way that you're just gradually, going quieter and quieter and quieter, so that they also come down and they can acclimate and used to it. Or you have a conversation with them and saying, well, I'm trying not to do that behavior. This is what, you may have to alert them to it. So all that is like the wonderful aspects of the interpersonal relationships in the world of time and space. And again, if anyone wants to offer or share, you're welcome. If Sarma, you have any more to offer, you're welcome to. So that was one thing. And then the other thing was, I'm going to go back here because Shems Howard and asked a question. And I think his question was ultimately about correlating um, uh, the abnetter, which we were saying is soul, correlating with soul, with the aku with the 9 aspects of the personality, because we remember the 9 aspects of the personality, we also have a soul in there. And actually, Seba Dja started to show this, and then Seba Dja got caught up in the same the same kind of uh, conundrum that James Howard was trying to get at with this kind of thinking. And so this was something I'd shown, and then I adjusted. I'll show you where I adjusted it later on, because I realized I didn't want to get it like it's not real. It's like two different software programs trying to plug in. Like you have a software program and another software program, and then and they're different. Or something like, Bas Baguette is always reminding us to get about the Mac computers instead of uh, the what are the ones we were called, the PCs that we have, um, and uh, and some programs don't really interface between those two systems. A lot of them do, but some of them don't. Or even if they do things, the same thing, they might do it differently. So you can't really, if I ask Bas Baguette, what are the steps for me to do this with an Excel, PowerPoint, or do da da da, or make this video or da da da, she'll give me the steps. And if I try to do it on my computer, absolutely won't work. So sometimes each of these like frameworks, these myths, these parables, these uh, frameworks that we use, they are generally to kind of point to us. They're just like in a way like the Neteru, like how the Neteru is a different aspect of the Nebuchadnezzar, like a different cosmic principle that relates to the descriptions, the um, concepts, the ideas, the teachings, the informed fate process of what Nebuchadnezzar is, right? So they all represent different aspects, but really they all dissolve into Nebuchadnezzar. In the same way, all of these frameworks are just giving different perspectives. The words we use to describe Nebuchadnezzar when we're using pure awareness or pure consciousness or consciousness awareness, we're trying to give like a different angle of that Nebuchadnezzar conceptual framework. When we're using abiding joy, abiding peace, hatep, resher, awadab, we're trying to give like a different angle of what that is. When we do the wisdom focus versus the devotional focus, we're like different angles, but it's all really, it's like we're just emphasizing this part of the ocean goes to this shore, this part of the ocean goes to that shore, but it's still all the ocean, it's still all water. So sometimes they're not interchangeable, is what I'm saying. So I had shown this aspect which is a depiction Seba Ma had in one of his presentations, this part anyway, to show the layering of RU, like kind of like a depth of RU, to show that there are sometimes superficial RU, which can be let go of pretty easily. You don't really hold on to those too much. Some of those just get dissolved in lectures, in presentations, because like, oh, I thought it was this. Oh, it's really that. Boom, are you gone? Some of them are like a little bit more deeply embedded, which is what he's trying to show here. This is like, it's not they're out of the ab. They're still in the ab, but they're showing like if I'm like looking through this glass and then there's a depth. So he's just kind of showing sideways view of that to give an idea of that depth. And so I put here, the asar is in the ab, right? We know that. And I put the asar, the soul, here at the back of what would be the ab, to give that idea that the soul is in its karas, a shrine in the ab. So that's really what I was trying to give. But this image, relates it from the 9 parts of the personality perspective, which was where this image was from that talk. So it talked about, how you have your cat, your ren, your ka, your sekam, and then the ab. So it's focusing on the ab. And then Let me bring it in front of me so I'm not looking at the side screen. So, and then it's, and then, after the ab, then you have the higher elements of the personality, the Sahu, the Ba, and the Aku. And then the Ba also means soul. So there was like, oh, Seba Dja, you put soul here and then Ba soul. It's like, okay, that's a whole different type of process, and back here's Nebuger. They have the same kind of essence, but it's like the nine aspects of the personality is showing like an alignment factor of different energetic aspects of the personality. And so that's like a different framework from Sage Amenemopet's The Soul. But here I was really just trying to show the RU layers. Seba talks about, in the books, the soul awareness, solar witness, and the Sage Amenemopet, the RU density. So I was just really trying to give that. So the question from Shems Howard is kind of this, if I'm saying this is the Abneter, is this the same as the Aku, this Ba Aku aspect? And my answer is kind of yes, but understanding no, because it's different frameworks. And I asked Ibama yesterday, and his answer was the same. It's like, it's kind of technically yes, but it's not like the right framework for that kind of um, uh, process. But in terms of the technical philosophy and and aspiring working in it through, yes, because we know that the Abneter is the same as Nebuchadnezzar. And then we know when the personality becomes technically enlightenment, they're moving into these higher elements of the personality. The Sahuba and the Aku become activated. And the Aku is a shining spirit being that is now becomes a direct communication, um, a kind of oneness with the spirit Nebuchadnezzar. So yes. So I don't know if Shems Howard is on, but that's it. So the way I try when I was going to show it again, it's like I go like, oh, I didn't mean to like get into all of that, like mix frameworks up because I just wasn't paying attention. So then I cleaned it up a little bit, and I don't know if you all had like noticed that or not noticed, but here I cleaned it up. I just like showed the part that I wanted to show, just really, which was this image of the RU, the memories from the past situations that impacted us positive and negative and became a psychological or spiritual blockages due to egoism and ignorance of our true essence, and egoism that comes from that misunderstanding of ourself. And the Abneter is also in this same area of the unconscious mind, where the RU resides, except the Abneter is closed off in the shrine, and the Abneter is the soul, and this is the symbol for Asar, the soul, and that we're using those interchangeably. So does anybody have any questions about that? Let's see my checklist. To Basabaka for posting those pages there. Let's see. Okay, and then Sarma, did you want to show the upper, your upper, and if anybody else had their upper to show?
Uja Seba Dja, just to clear that up, Asarma share those as I was doing some other multitasking things. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, no, do a Sarma. Well, let me say, do it to the self in you all. And cover my bases.
Dja.
Uja.
So was Shems Howard question, is the Abneter the same as the Ba? Was that the question?
Can it be thought of not exactly the same, but well, I don't want to speak for him.
Okay.
He was reflecting on his he was he couldn't find the reference that he had shared with me.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't find the reference, but he was looking at another part of the scripture. Let me see. He had two. Well, that was one part of it, and then there was another. So, if the ba is the abnetter, how is one to understand the aku? So, this ba abnetter aku issue came up.
Okay. Okay. So I get your answer now.
Sorry, yes. And
Okay.
how should one? Yeah, and then understand Amenemopet's teachings in the context of the 9 aspects of the personality. And I'm relating that specifically to the abnetter because that's a specific part of Amenemopet's teachings that I'm specifically in this class
Mhm.
addressing. So that's what I just addressed.
Okay. You do a
He had another aspect of it, and that was like the when the RU is thinned out, what happens? So he said that the question was already answered, he thinks, but uh, what happens to negative and or positive RU once it's thinned out and subsequently dissolved? And then he said something, I think. He was wondering, uh, or he thought maybe we said or the book said that it remains as a part of the personality. And so I wanted to clarify that. Do a say who Kepra for making me go back to the actual text when he texted me. I forgot he had texted me.
Mhm.
Because then it brought up this other aspect that he also was um, relating to. So, no, if somehow we gave that understanding that the RU, once it's thinned out, which means it's effaced, which means it's like dissipated, which means it's like dissolved, um, it was as if it's never there. Because this is where the illusory understanding part comes in. It's like if a wave discovers that it's really the ocean, what happens to that misunderstanding that it thought it was just a surface wave and that its existence was just as a wave and it didn't know it had this whole depth beneath it. So now it discovers like this whole depth beneath it. What happens to the 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 understanding it held that I'm just like this? It's no longer, it's like a misunderstanding. It's like what happens to, you thought someone was mad at you because they didn't say good morning, but then you found out that, they had a headache and that's why they didn't say good morning. What happens to your misunderstanding? It just kind of like dissolves. It's because like it's an illusion within the illusion. Um, so what happens to the darkness when the light, is turned on? It was like it never existed there. Um, so yeah, so it dissipates, it dissolves, um, it evaporates. There is a portion, however, of like of RU that relates to this lifetime for the personality, um, that uh, that will play out, that sustains the life of the enlightened personality. So things will still unfold in their life, like situations will still unfold. So there's a portion of RU relates to like situations and circumstances and events in time and space that will still unfold, but they are no longer relating themselves as this individuated personality responding or interacting or being affected by those events and situations. They know themselves to be nebuchadnezzar. So even as they're in the time and world interacting and dealing with whatever RU is unfolding, they're not creating new RU by it. They're not getting caught up in it. They're not reacting to it. They're not getting, you know, compelled or impelled to act with it. So that's like true Mat Ari. They're acting through their divine nature as they deal with situations, connected to their divine nature, as their divine nature connected to situations. That's it.
Dja, Sims Howard wrote in the chat, Seba Dja.
Mm-hmm.
Extensive. I don't know, Shims Howard, you want to read it if you'd like, but I can.
Hotep, I see that I had posted it 3 times, but it appeared on my end that it was not posting at all. So I was trying to make sure that I made the effort because Seba Dja wanted me to remind her of that. And so after your response, Seba Dja, all I can say is dua. And it makes me think about that if you read ahead in the book about the mental health and psychology, as I read ahead, I'm seeing that it sounds like that I'm in an intermediate stage, and then the outcome would be, I think it has to do with clarity. And so now I really understand the thing when the example that you gave when you were talking about cleaning your glasses. And so my Nebuchadnezzar has always been here. My consciousness has always been here. It's just that I'm growing or coming to be more aware of it. Hotep.
That's it. Does anyone have any other comments or questions? Insights, sharing, additions? Speak now or forever hold your what is it? I forgot what that forever hold your peace.
Hi. For Uja, I don't really know what that means, but this is one of
Uja
my
means
first meetings.
greetings. Uja means
Oh,
just
okay.
greetings, but with the awareness of our spiritual nature.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to like make a comment and just say, this is my first meeting ever, and I just seen your page the other day, and I just wanted to tune into this. But I really appreciate everyone, who put the books together, because that's how I know about this whole thing. So thank you.
Well, do for joining and do for actually coming on and sharing that. Much do.
And Uja, Tyler, I had responded to your question in the chat in reference to where these are archived. These recordings are archived. So hopefully you can just click on that link and you'll see the previous recordings. Okay. That's up.
Do it from Seba Ma, do it from myself, and do it from for the community, the whole community.
Uja.
Uja.
And I put in the chat, dua equals adorations and thank you.
Thank you. Dua.
So, Seba Dja, I have, I quickly can just share the items in my apper.
Okay, let me put things aside here.
And I don't know if I can get rid of the background.
Let's see.
I can see. Let's see. Yeah. So I don't use anything fancy in terms of like what I use to hold the items in the apper. So it's just, a little sack. And the things that I generally keep, the main item is my jed pillar, a copper jed pillar that comes from Kemet. And this item just, really reminds me of the notion of steadfastness and the power of the upper four psycho-spiritual energy centers. And then I have a cartouche. Sorry, I'm not able to, but this is, cartouche is also the term shen in Kemetic language, um, which has the name, sort of my name engraved in it. And I'm sorry, I can't get that background thing out of there. Maybe try one more time. Then, okay. And then the some ma'at earrings.
Your background left also, just to let you
And
know.
yeah, I took the background out just so you could see, because it was hard to see the items.
Neat. Can we see the earrings again?
Me. So this is a ma'at earring. And I occasionally wear them, but not so much, so I like to carry them. And there's a ma'at amulet that I also have as a necklace. And I guess I mean, I wear these, as well, the scarab, the kepra, symbolizing creation, the one. And then this is, symbol of the Usert, which is a Kemetic symbol for protection. So I, often carrying around a larger backpack, and I'll have just those items and can tuck them down in the backpack. Or if I'm not taking, a larger bag, then at minimum, the jed pillar is going with me. This last one is new. Like a tree with the 7 psycho-spiritual, a stone for every 7 psycho-spiritual energy center. Attempt.
Do it for sharing. Very nice. You're pretty well jam-packed in there. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do a lot of jewelry that I don't wear also in there, but yeah, I appreciate that. And just remember your little apper. It's very fancy because it's raw stuff.
Me. Do a Seba Dja. Do a attempt.
Do it for sharing. So yeah, so these resources and the idea, I was thinking about it today, especially with the Abnet, or the divinity of the heart that Sage Amenemopet talks about, the soul, placing it in the it relates to the unconscious mind, of course, and then also the identification with it being in the heart, in the shrine in the heart. So then if we're all and this is our individuated aspect of soul that we recognize as one with the universal soul, and so it's always going around with us. So the idea with the apper, it's like, are we resourced? Because the image, of the soul of Asar in the temple is that he has this little backpack that, he, Asar, but really the soul related to the royal personality, the aspirant, the initiate. But the initiate here is offering, oops, I forgot to, it came off. I went back to a few slides there. So here, this is the scene in the Temple of Asar, Temple of Osiris in Abydos. And this is from one of the panels, and it's in the Temple of the Soul book by Seba by Dr. Ashby. And And so this is the upper. It's like a little backpack that I think I have here that the soul carries and wears. And it's like resources. The soul is resourced. And so the idea behind this this process that we're engaging is to know that wherever we are, our soul, little soul connected to big soul, one and the same actually, and that we are resource. So this is also to affirm soul is resource, that, like, in other words, everything that we really want from a deep perspective of the personality, beyond the food to survive, beyond food, water, and maybe a little shelter to survive. Beyond that, we want to be happy. We want to be at peace. We want to, be loved. Those are the things that we want. And, we are used to being outward as human beings to look for them in the world. And this is telling us, like, they are outward in the world in very scattered ways, but really it's coming from us. It's coming from our own inner resources. And so we're carrying, disciplinarily, we were focused on this process, we engaged here, of putting together an app, or if you don't have one already, your resources that you carry with you that alerts you that if you were to take it out to look at it, if you're going through a difficult time where it means that you've forgot your connection, or your connection has, gotten a little disrupted, back to those old phone commercials, you know, there's so much static. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. The soul is speaking. It's like, I can't hear you. That this is like a reminder that you have these resources that, of your soul, to connect you back to that experience and that sense of feeling whole within yourself and complete within yourself. And that's what really I'm trying to do with the stopgap measure also, is like, keep pointing back. It's the same thing process we do in meditation, right? When one goes into a formal meditation, the mind is doing all these things, and then we keep redirecting the mind. Like, no, we're going to Nebuchadnezzar. We're focusing back to, our deeper soul or spirit, whatever name we call it, awareness. We keep focusing it back. So this stopgap is part of the informal aspect of when there's something that's actually happening in real time, a way to a Seba, like I think he put it in his presentation that he did last time. Also for the KemetTV series, the disengage, he used that term disengage. I'm using the term, stop here because it goes with the nice acronym. But it's basically just, it's not suppressing that RU that's trying to come out, but it's basically saying to that RU that's trying to come out, yeah, you're not, you're no longer in line with, my process here. I'm not, I'm no longer getting caught up in, all of those feelings and things that I did that before, obviously lifetimes before, which is why the RU is here, and it's coming out because, like, if I were the same person I am like a month ago, when this RU come out, I would be like very much engaged in that RU. But now I've understood that I am the divine self. I am soul. And this RU is like, it's coming out because it's like disconnected. The personality when that RU came out was disconnected from soul. So it felt like it was missing something. Like, and this person or situation was somehow taking away its happiness, taking away its peace, disturbing, agitating it. But really, people outside, in situations outside, can only do that when there's like a breach between oneself and one's soul, when there's some sort of an issue there. So the stop, the disengage, and like even here, we can use the term in a way like the stop is like freeze. Like it's like, like don't make one more movement. Don't punch that person out. Don't slam that door. Don't say what you're going to say. Like just freeze in the moment. But it's not like a limbic system freeze of shutting down, like, oh my gosh, I have to protect myself. It's actually, again, these things can look the same superficially, but have different functions according to the level of spiritual understanding. So, and maturity. So it's like, I'm going to do that. Tuck the arms in. People may even see your face and say, like, why are you so tense and stressed? And you may still be tense and stressed, but a lot less tense and stressed than if you punch or slammed or yelled or screamed. So it takes a while for the personality to wind down, but it's a recognition that these patterns that are coming out were basically patterns devoid of what I call a rusher, the recognition of the universal spiritual reality. There are patterns that occurred in the mind because there was a disconnect. And now we're just doing things differently. We're going to connect first because that's where the really issue is, the connection, staying connected to their soul awareness. Actually, of course, the ultimate goal of this all is spiritual enlightenment, where one knows themselves as the soul. But this, we're talking disciplinary, taking steps in that direction, taking steps to start to become more aware of these automatic processes that are occurring that we've never questioned, never asked, like, well, why does that happen? Well, why is it going like, why do I react to it? Why is this thing so important to me? It's not life or death, really. Like, why is my personality reacting to it that way? So, so it's just really starting to observe that, take a like on that, and start to affirm the essence of who we are, that nuking correctly, and also working with the personality to efface the egoism of the personality. We're not effacing the personality. The personality still has to continue, but the egoism is the lack, is like the ignorance of our true essence. So we're infusing awareness of our true essence to whatever level we understand the teachings, whatever depth, if a lot of us saw it, right? We understand it with deep feeling, even if it's not full-blown enlightenment. We have certain experiences, that facilitates that process. So to whatever degree that is, we understand it. And to whatever degree, even if we don't understand it to the degree, but if we do as Sage Amenemopet says, hey, I've been there, I've done that, I've studied this, I'm an authority in this, and this has worked for centuries, and I'm telling you it. So you may not have everything worked out about it and understand everything of how it works, but just for right now, to calm your nervous system down and to start connecting, thin out those blockages, those egoistic blockages, and to start kind of connecting at a deeper level to your soul, which will allow you to have a more deeper inner experience of peace, joy, and happy. Just start doing what I'm telling you, following the teachings. Just start reading and practicing and expressing it, and you'll feel better. That's up. Last Paquette, go ahead. You had an effort to share.
We just Seba Dja, if we have the time, if you'd like me to share.
Yes.
Okay.
We have infinite timeless time.
Okay. So I had made this little bag, and I liked the material because it had little blue flowers that to me looked like a blue lotus. And of course, I have my little blue lotus that is been anointed with the blue lotus oil. I have someone gave a very special gift to me, and I don't know if you can see it. It says, "Just breathe." And as a Sarma had, I also have a little earring that has a Set Ma'at in there. And I don't know if you can see him or not, but there's the Hentasu that we had gotten in Kemet. And then on the back, I'm sorry?
Symbolizing transformation.
Knee. And then this is my Hetio. It has the on the top, and then I painted the gold to pierce the back of frustrations or whatever. And then and this has and this is also at one of our conferences, Seba Ma had shared the carvings from when he did the Tiet. And so these carvings, of course, related to me as, you know, the menking that we do. So, yeah, that's my little pepper.
Very never.
Oh, wait, one more thing that somebody else gave as a gift. I also wanted to show that too. Is also in the little pocket.
Do
much
it.
tap.
Beautiful. Do it for sharing, because then you all give me ideas. I told you Shamsarit had shared that she was keeping her like ear headphones, you know, in hers to listen to spiritual teachings and music. So I actually had to take mine out of there. That didn't work for me. Why? Because I kept forgetting I had them in there. And I would go around the house looking everywhere, like, where are my head? Where? So until I get better attuned to where they are being in there. But all of these ideas are very, very, very nice to share. And you know, and we probably all have them. Like we all probably have an amulet we wear or a necklace that's part of our, you know, or upper as well. But specifically the exercise we're doing, we're engaging is like to, just like we made our shrine, and Seba Dja still hasn't put her light in there. Just like, you know, we all made many of us made a shrine, and you're still welcome to make a shrine. And this was just, again, simple materials. Oh, and I see I lost one of my door handles. Okay. A little shrine repair is needed, a little shrine upgrade. And then some made a little bit more elaborate shrines to symbolize the shrine within which the Abnet or the soul resides, as the teachings of Sage Amenemopet tells us. And then the upper to carry with us, to have that bring in more conscious awareness, like more that we are aware of, more mindfulness, because the RU expressions tend to be like automatic. And so if we have more mindful awareness and more conscious awareness of things related to soul and what we're doing, then that is also an effacement of the RU. Because the RU may come out and it's being acted towards like in an indifferent way, like we're being indifferent to it. We're not like grabbing onto it. We're not like buying into its compelling urge to do something or act some way or say something or not do something or not act some way or not say something. We're actually, it's flowing, and we are actually having a mindful awareness of our deeper nature. And so that's why Sage Amenemopet says, you know, sound Nevager, you know, be aware, keep that awareness. And you know, of course, this is part of a disciplinary process, right? But these are all steps that are, the teachings are guiding and pointing to moving in that direction. And you know, in Kemet, one of the beautiful things when we go there is like, you know, you don't have to maybe do all of these steps, because you're always reminded with these monumental statues, not just like reminded with like, you know, general, you know, small temples, but these huge monumental statues and buildings and temples, that there's something greater than the personality. But in our Western culture, we may not have those monumental images around. So we have to even be more mindful to keep our upper, you know, in our homes, in our personality, in our work area, you know, whatever it is, to have some aspect of it that is there with us to feed us and resource us and remind us and keep the mental conscious mind aware. What's up? Anyone else to offer or share?
Uja, Bastaku was asking if, and I think it's a great idea, Cindy, if Tyler can share where he had gotten the information about joining today.
Uja, if we can do that at the end.
Oh, okay. Do us.
If Tyler will stay on till the end.
Sure. Yeah, I could do that.
Okay, Dua. Basbaket also to share about the program, right? This afternoon?
Would you like me to share that now?
Well, at the end. We'll do both things at the end. So if we can
do it.
Remind me.
I'll do that.
Oh goodness. So we were focusing on the stop Seha. Seha, the Kemetic word for turning away, which Sage Amenemopet said. So I think we were into the reading about that. Stop rejecting the divine in the heart, in one's actions, thoughts, feelings, emotions, one's words, one's deeds, which is an-mat-ari, which is against, righteous action. So normally we think
Seba Dja, were you intending to share your screen? It's not on.
I was. Dua.
Okay.
I'm seeing it. This personality is seeing it. Oh goodness. Let's see. I think I have to take it off of here first. And then align it. I have some AI art that I wanted to share. So I want to try to get to that and read. Okay, well, let me show this one thing. I had one slide on a PowerPoint that I haven't been doing PowerPoints these days with animation because it's like too much. But I have one slide that I would like to put on animation on. Oh, this is going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky because the computer setup is. Okay, let me see if what I can do here. Otherwise, it'll be without animation. Okay, so there. Let me share that. Oh, tell me what I want to do. Because when I put it to play, showing me let me just try it and see anyway. So what you're looking at in the main screen is just like a depiction of the physical body, the astral body, the causal body, right? You've seen this little tiny image here before, with the Nebuchadnezzar universal soul and the direction of flow. I don't want to say flow of consciousness, but in a way, uh, expression in the time and space reality, through the soul, through the astral body, the causal body, through the astral body to the physical body, right? So that we would say like that would be the soul would be here and the soul would be receiving its energy, let's say energy from the Nebuchadnezzar Ra aspect. So Nebuchadnezzar Ra Asar, that mystical lineage we've talked about. And so this image is just to sort of show here we have the physical body on the left, on the right we have the causal body with the mixed positive and negative RU and the abnet, the soul. And then in the middle we have the astral body, mind, and senses. And we've talked about this character here, this called Herifi personality, Heru with two heads, one head set tending to, on Ma'at and righteousness, Heru head tending to Ma'at righteousness. So normally we think of it shifted a little bit. writing shifted a little bit as I made it into a PDF, or as I transferred it to this computer. So anyway, the lower self is when the mind, so this is the mind, really, in sense, is in the middle, if I remove that. So the mind is either turned and focused in terms of the physical body and mind, and that's what we call the personality and the ego personality, when the mind is caught up in the awareness, the energy, the awareness, the consciousness that really is coming from Nebuchadnezzar, is being used by the mind, but it's not aware there's a deeper source that's a soul. So the mind thinks that, it is, the source of the consciousness, the sense of I am, the sense of who I am. So that's like the ego personality. I am this mind, body, ego personality. And so we refer to that as a lower self. And when the mind is turned, which is what the process of spirituality, especially mystical spirituality, the mind, we're turning the mind to the soul, and to get the sense of the I'm the soul. I am Asar, I am Nebuchadnezzar, I am awareness, I am consciousness. Then the mind, that mind becomes transformed by that process. And so it's still a part of the personality, but it's like a purified part of the personality, sometimes referred to as the higher self. And again, higher self is used in different ways in different contexts, but this is how I'm using it here. And so this Hirifi part of the personality, which has the describes the aspirant in the striving stages, that switches, from egoism, gross egoism, to more subtle egoism, which is more of a purified type of personality. And it's just like during the course of the day, the personality switches. Like all of a sudden, they're feeling peaceful and compassionate, or, caring. And then something happens, and then it's like they're ready to yell at somebody, or they feel bad about something, or, and so it's this. So anyway, the idea is just, I wanted to share that. Yeah. So this is kind of like this, and I'm not using schizoid as a psychological terminology here, just the mind, how the aspirant, how can shift. This is how most people, even not aspirants, this is how most people go through kind of their day. You're feeling good, you're feeling bad, you're feeling happy, you're feeling sad, like things happen, and whatever's happening inside of you, your own thoughts, feelings, and memories, or things outside of you, you're just like shifting to this sense of being this personality more so. And then maybe somebody says a quote about God or spirit, and then it's like, oh yeah, and then you turn towards your soul, your abnetter, and you like feel a little bit more spiritualized, and it's just this back and forth. And it's an integration process of the mind going back and forth. And it's draining and exhausting. What's exhausting about it is the time in the lower self. And so the aspirant is moving to spend more time on the right, having that awareness and that consciousness, formally in the deep meditation, formal meditation, and also through the informal aspects of the informal meditation processes that we talk about, to spend more time in that higher self. So that was that. Any comments or questions or insights, you are welcome to. Okay, let's do a little bit of Amenemopet reading. Get back to that.
Seba Dja, just a note, it's 12:23.
Ni dua. Keep me aware. I mean, I just keep going back to the previous slides to give the context because it's so good, but let's start here. Well, I'll read this quickly. This is about the turning away from the abnetter of the soul. There is a divinity, and this is in the larger context of a Mat precept that says, "An am Abba, not eaten heart mine. I have not eaten my heart with anguish, dejection, jealousy, self-recrimination, remorse, or envy." So those are eating one's heart, really getting into, having those feelings come up in one's personality. It's for the aspirant to be aware that those are not ideal. Even like psychology would say, like to be, sitting in these feelings for a long time. It's not ideal. It's not healthy. And there are ways to work through it. So we're doing so from a psychospiritual perspective here. And the way we're doing that is from the teachings of Sage Amenemopet that Seba brought out in the book, Mystic Psychology. And what Sage Amenemopet tells us is there's a divinity within you. And he places this divinity in the heart and in a shrine in the heart and the unconscious mind. There's a divinity within you, your true self. Ignorance about that divinity and organized life causes movement away from that divinity. So that's why we're trying to Sechem on Sekemen. Remember and not forget. Do you all remember that from the same framework? Sechem and Sekemen. That's one of our frameworks we're using. We're remembering, striving to remember our deeper essence, and then that's one part of it. And then the other part is not forget, right? That's the same as sound nebular. Keep that awareness, all the time. And I was thinking about that. So the apper is kind of like a way to do that, right? Because we have to carry it around. We talked about like how are we able to keep this awareness like when we have stuff to do. And this is a proverb I shared last time that I was going to look for. And this is why we can do both things at the same time. We can be in the world and we can keep the awareness. We talk about a mother having a baby, a miser for its money, and like when you fall in love with someone, that infatuation phase, you're doing things, but they're still very much in your heart. Like there's a part of your mind that just is always like there. You're feeling them in your essence. So we are designed that way to have those two things. It's just a matter of like, what are we holding in our heart? More types of illusory processes that cannot give us what it is that we want, that we talked about on Friday. So if you have missed the Friday one, because I know Friday and Sunday close together, and I think Asar Ahmad may have posted it or will be posting the Friday one. But if you missed that, that talked about looking for something where it is not. So this is a Kemetic Egyptian proverb in the Egyptian Proverbs book by Seba Dja by Dr. Ashby. And it relates to the Heru personality that we talked about. This, the Heru with the two heads, the striving aspirant, the twofold nature but it also relates to all human beings. It's just kind of a makeup. This twofold nature, body, animal, instinctive part, and then the spirit, soul, divine, godly, goddessly aspect. So the proverb says, God, or the divine, has made humankind of soul and body, right? Soul and body. That is of an eternal nature and of a mortal nature. The soul of the eternal nature, the body of the mortal nature. So that an animal, thus blended, can satisfy the dual origin, admire and worship things in heaven, spiritual things, and at the same time cultivate and govern things on earth. For it is plain that humankind could not have sustained the strain of both unless formed out of both natures, so as to be able to possess the powers of cultivating earthly things and loving heaven. So this mystical, illusory reality that we call the world of time and space, that we call creation, the way that this whole aspect of this personality, this human aspect and the being aspect, right? The spiritual aspect, the human animal aspect and the being aspect, the way it's all put together, it's to be able to do both things. And most people in the unenlightened state don't know that. Like, so, and aspirants, when they come into the teachings, they think it's like one or the other. It's like, it's like, it's just only spirit. And that's where that idea of the spiritual bypassing word comes in, because then aspirants, it's like, oh, it's just about becoming spirit. It's just about nuking correctly. It's just about affirming my spiritual nature. And then I discover my spiritual nature, and then I'm just spirit. And it's not that. All true mystical spiritual aspects heavily emphasize that the personality also has to be taken care of. Both have to be taken care of, and the teachings are designed to work with both. So the body, mortal, earthly aspect has to be handled, as well as the heavenly aspect, and the mind is not really supposed to be switching, like, like this what I just shared with you. Ideally, the flow, ideally, uh, the flow should be the RU gets purified in the unconscious mind, which allows for this flow that's already there. You are already the universal self. So the minute, as you release these unconscious impressions that are like balls of energies and desires and feelings, that tying up all the energy and creating this sense of stress, once those become thinned out and relieved, then what is already there is experienced through the causal aspect of the personality, through the astral aspect of the personality, and through the physical aspect of the personality. It becomes like a unidirectional kind of, and again, this is just metaphorical language, allegorical language. So we can do both things, is the point of all of that. So you can be in the world and at the same time turn away from the illusory aspect of your personality, engage in it. So it's ignorance about that divinity, and organized life causes a movement away from that divinity. And it's as if that divinity is actually turning away from you. So that's how the personality feels, like the divine is turning away from them. Why? Because when that is done, it is one's own rejection of the divine within our hearts, and thus our divine heart, that is the spirit essence of our divine within us, as if turns away from or forsakes us within our own personality. And then that's the scripture within the book. Teachings of Amenemopet, chapter 16, hieroglyph text. There's a few areas in there. This is another area that, another verse that talks about it. And this verse says, Eof Seha imba paneter. So it brings in the imba paneter, which is the other aspect that Sage Amenemopet is impressing on us. Actually, acting in that way, hypocrisy, jealousy, dejection, self-recrimination, remorse, envy, amounts to the actual turning down or accepting or turning away from, forsaking the awareness and immanence of the divine, even while being in the presence of the divine. So, of course, everything is only consciousness. So we're always in the presence of the consciousness. And so it's a matter of being aware of that or not being aware of that. Our own presence, our own existence as consciousness. And when we're not, that's the turning away. That's the forsaking. That's the rejecting. That's the hypocrisy. Seba says, verse 11 to 13, reveals how this resistance operates. The mind that refuses to allow teachings to penetrate the innermost level of the mind, the unconscious, experiences what the verse calls turning away from the teachings, which would lead to mental weakness. In fact, the turning away from these teachings, that would be injuring the mental capacity. If Bastakua is on, or Bastabaket, there's a proverb and it starts off, it says, what is the source of sadness but feebleness of mind? If you can pull that up from the Egyptian Proverbs book, to remind me of this. So in fact, the turning away from these teachings, that would be injuring the mental capacity. That's a very impactful word. So when we do that, it's actually like a diminishment of the mental capacity. So the mind is like getting like a little mental injury. This mental weakness represents the gradual diminishment. Oh, he uses the word here, diminishment here. This mental weakness represents the gradual diminishment of discriminative capacity, the ability to recognize truth from illusion, wisdom from ego justification, genuine spiritual guidance from comfortable platitudes. As RU density remains unchanged despite years of spiritual study, because vital life fire never ignited to burn away these patterns, the mind loses capacity to recognize that superficial engagement produces no genuine transformation. So the teachings have to go deeper. So different aspirants are at different levels of engagement. And this is like, Sibama is not diminishing whatever level one is. If one is at the level of superficial engagement, this is just saying you have to go deeper. There's more to go deeper until you become enlightened. There's always more. Don't get stuck or stop at whatever level you are, thinking that, oh, I feel so much better. Oh, this, I enjoy this spiritual level. This is good. Is this it? No, it's just a candlelight compared to the light of the self. So you have to keep going deeper. Otherwise, the personality will actually go retrograde back to the Anma'at aspects of it. It'll go back into more forgetfulness. So you have to keep moving forward, because the conceptual understanding of Nebuchadnezzar, where it can be comforting, it's helpful, the apper to go to it. It's part of the menking of the personality, that term but that Baket used, the menk, the sculpting of the personality. It's still an active part of the process. It's not the end and it's not the goal, but it's moving in the direction of that way. So you have to keep, so if the mind is weak, if these experiences, these sadness and all of these things are being experienced, it's to be aware that relative psychological Western culture, those emotional aspects are okay to have in the personality. So from a psychological perspective, it's just part of the human nature and they're going to happen. But this is a different journey that one is putting themselves on to engage the mystical process. So the standards here, the standards are higher, but because you're a spirit, but the path is that one has to go beyond like the self-justifying aspect of the human nature. This is like to become an enlightened sage. This is like to become whatever you think a sage is, that your ideal of that, whatever you look in the temple systems and you see the ideal of the royal personalities of the sages, the ancient sages, the current sages, that's what you're being compared to in a way. You are comparing yourself to that as an ideal. Not that they're perfect in everything they do, but you want to move towards that ideal of the spiritual qualities and values that they have. And you're turning away from some of the worldly values and qualities. that were okay at one point in time, but now you're moving to a higher level. Okay, so I think we will probably leave it there. Just what we talked about, the stopgap technique. So the S there means, like, stop whatever you're doing, stop whatever is happening, just kind of pause, not asking to do like a psychological limbic system freeze, but you're just gonna disengage, as if I might use that word. You're gonna just refrain. We've used the term in the past, suppress, but just kind of not using that strongly, because I don't want it to get people to think that it's a psychological suppression, which is not good. This is just like one little step that's going to keep going forward. So we're not like, and one of the things also is the S could be is silence, right? And I put here rudely, shut up, because depending on how you speak to yourself, and in a joking way, not in a harsh way. But sometimes you tell somebody, "Can you just shut up?" And you might tell yourself like, you know, "Okay, shut up now, Karen. Shut up now, whatever." Don't say anything else, however it is. So the shut up is put here in a jestful way. Not in a rude or harsh way to be harsh with yourself, but the silence. And we talked about this teachings from Sage Tahotep uh, a few sessions back, and so I just want to bring it up in line with what I shared at the beginning of the program, that there are different types of silence, and here we're talking about a spiritually integrated silence, not a silence to take abuse or take physical abuse and not address the situation. This is just like a silence, a spiritual silence that is integrative to a deeper aspect of personality. And also, when we get to the gap part of the stopgap approach, the gap part is actually the P is practical reality. And the A is like GAP. So the gentle reflections, putting it all together, coming from, I said, now your right mind, because you've lodged, you're connected back to your spirit, your heart, and now you're reflecting on the more psychological aspects of it. You get help if you need to reflect on those. See a psychologist or a psycho-spiritualist or a spiritual teacher for counseling, individual counselor, to work through that if you need to. And then you decide what action you're going to take. And then you go handle the practical reality situation that, was there at the beginning. If it's something that, could have been put off till you go through all these steps in a longer way, but otherwise you just do it in a short time where you say, excuse me, like, I need to come back to you to handle the situation. Unless it's an emergency, unless you're a doctor and somebody's dying there before, of course you wouldn't say, wait for a moment, I need to deal with myself. So we're not talking about any life or death or life-threatening situations. We're talking about, psychological situations where we are trying to transform that aspect of the mind, because it's not a real life or death situation for one to become so emotionally invested in it. Okay. Yeah. So Sage Tahotep had said, whatever the situation is, just stop, just go silent, be silent about it. Whether somebody is more powerful than you and they're, having a disputation with you, disputing with you, having a fight with you, if they're superior to you, be silent. Um, um, if you're meeting someone who's your equal and your level, and they're speaking evilly to you, again, like, be silent. And how people will think of you is at a much higher level than them in all these situations. You'll maintain your reputation. And if you're speaking to someone who is weaker than you, a poor person, again, and they're taking it out and yelling or talking badly to you, be silent again. So it's just an initial silence, so that as not to escalate the situation, escalate your own "are you" about the situation, feeling that they're somehow taking something away from you by judging you in this wrong way or accusing you of something, because they can't uh, take away anything from you if you are identifying with your soul awareness. Now, the personality may have to deal with some issues, but the you is unaffected. And whatever the personality has to deal with, it can be handled through a numerous um, ways. If you have the skills to do it or not, that's another question. But skills can be acquired. Okay, I think we'll leave it there for today. Any comments? Insight sharing? Let's conclude with just a short stop practice. And we're going to do it a little quick today because of time, and then we'll have our announcements. So let's, first of all, we'll do our relaxation of the body technique. We'll do our deep relaxation or body scan as it's called, but this is the quick and fast version of it. We're going to inhale. We're going to tense and squeeze all the muscles of the body, squeeze the face, make a tight face, tense the fingers, make a fist, tense it. Then we're going to exhale and relax. And we're going to exhale with a sigh. One more time. Inhale, tense and squeeze. Exhale. And we'll do it one more time, and we'll do it with our Sekhmet breath. Exhaling like roaring like the lioness, and just releasing our life force energy flowing through us, the life force energy that is imbued by the awareness of the enlightened nature. So very positive. Inhale, tense, squeeze, tighten. Then exhale. Ah. And now with the mouth closed, breathing in and out through the nostrils. We'll take a couple of deep breaths, centering ourselves. Abdomen, chest, and shoulders. Exhale, shoulders, chest, and abdomen. When the breath is tied into the symbolism of the trachea and the lungs, which is the Sema symbol for unity with the one's deeper nature. And we're going to focus on the heart, which is right adjacent, where Sage Amenemopet places the soul within the shrine in the heart. We're going to use that for our anchor. So visualizing a situation. So we are also can use the stopgap for a preemptive, like a tendency we have that it hasn't happened as yet, but we're going to use it to kind of put a template in our personality that when this happens in the future's file, we're put in like install in a file. This is how we're going to respond. So we can use it for that as well. So whatever our pattern is that we want, whatever behavior, whatever emotion, whatever thought, feeling, that we can pick one of them. And we can, like as if experience a situation occurring where that is coming out of the personality. We're reacting in that way. Whatever it is. And now we're going to do the stop. We're going to recognize and feel that coming out in the personality, but we're not going to let it express beyond wherever we became aware of it, because it's not in line with our deeper nature. And it's, as a matter of fact, obstructing us from our deeper nature, weakening the mind. We recognize it as a Seha, turning away. And so we turn towards connecting with our heart. Within the shrine, we know there's Abnetter. So we turn towards the shrine, turn towards our heart, and we're going to we're going to identify what that emotion is. We know what it is, or feeling, or thought, what quality it is, what name the psychologist would give it, or the psychospiritualist would give it. And we're going to pick the opposite that's in line with our soul qualities. And breathing the fragrance of that into our personality, allowing the personality to relax, because that's really why it had the reaction, because it fell away from this spiritual quality. And breathing the quality of that fragrance, following the fragrance is emanating from within the kara, within the shrine. We open the door to the shrine and we enter within, and there's abnetter. We settle into the abnetter. Wherever the abnetter is seating, we can seat ourselves there, because that abnetter is none other than us. The fragrance of that feeling, emotion, that opposite, it dissolves in the abnetter. It can dissolve in the gur, the serenity of the abnetter. And even as its fragrance continues to emanate beyond the shrine as that positive quality. Settling into the sense of soul, the RU, positive RU cultivation in your awareness, in your mind, as to that soul nature. That's that deep understanding with feeling of the soul nature of your essence, sinking into that. Allowing yourself to touch the abiding joy, to touch the pure awareness, to touch the pure consciousness, to touch the pure bliss, to touch the unconditional love, to touch the unaffected serenity. You can visualize it as a golden light there, or your tutelary divinity. Connect into that inner peace. Taking a breath. Coming back to the sense of the personality, the sense of the body, feeling it as it's sitting in the chair, and the sense of awareness of the personality nature, but with a flow of conscious awareness emanating from the deeper essence of soul. Pervading the mind, pervading the physical body. And with the awareness that as you participate in your time and space responsibilities, you will be gently aware and introspective of your mind, to be aware when it shifts away from this, and how easy it is to be yourself, your true self. Disciplinarily, but disciplinarily are still important steps to the full blown experience. There are little glimpses and encouragers. And you already are the true self anyway. You already are the divine self. So in a way, they are expressions of your true essence. Om ha-tap, 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 ha-tap. Om, peace, 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 peace. Ha-tap. I guess we can have those sharings. Bus Paquette, I think Travis or Tyler, sorry, Tyler. You want to share first, Bus Paquette, or you want Tyler to share first, however?
I guess I can share this way if most people are on, and then Tyler can share. Seba Dja, if you would mind taking your screen share off so I can share. Which is so hopefully you all can see the flyer that had gone out, and it was changed from April 25th to today for Seba Ma's exclusive book topics session. And he will be featuring the Awakening Your Soul Aware Witness and the Mysteries of Ra and Sekhmet. Yay! And this will be, the topic is the mysteries of the divine name practice with circular invocation wisdom. And again, that will be at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time this evening. And the link is only shared to those who are members of the general membership of KemetTV. If you are not a member, you can certainly join. Hopefully you can register very soon so that we can process your application, your registration, so that you can get the link as soon as possible. And to do that, you would just go to www.kemettv.com/register and choose the general access membership. Okay. And those of you who are already members of KemetTV, much dua, and we look forward to you joining us this evening. Hit that. Aspirin Tyler, would you care to share where you might have found out about these wonderful meetings?
Sure. So I went there. I'm a college student, and there just happened to be an African bookstore next to one of my campuses, and I walked in there. Just like was talking. I initially went in there because I was just learning about yoga and like how powerful breathing is. Um, and I was just looking around the store, and it was like a children's book. It was the story of Asar Aset and Heru. I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, I read that book, and I picked up also the Egyptian Yoga Volume 1. So I'm just starting to read that now.
Dua for sharing, very nefer, and indeed those books are very enlightening, let's say. Dua.
Uja, Seba Ma just wanted me to remind you all also. Bas Paquette, I wasn't, if you didn't mention the repository aspect of the Kemet TV, that it has a lot of videos on there. And I just wanted to just read the proverb that Bas Aku, was it Bas Aku that shared it? I can't see now. Okay, well, let me just read the proverb that she shared. So Tyler, first of all, Dua, for sharing that. Yes, on the books you mentioned and that bookstore, do for that bookstore. And we're happy to have you. And what may help also for you to know with the Kemet TV membership that there is also Seba Ma was pointing out like a lot of videos like from previous conferences, because some of the things like we may or may not go through at this time, because we're always circling according to which book we're reading, cycling through. So, but there's conferences from so many years ago that are on there, so you can go through that on your own self-paced. There's like hundreds of programs on there. So just to let you know that, not to overwhelm you, but just to let you know that it's a resource for you to be able to access. And also normally on Sundays before this program, we usually have a devotional program. So if you're on the Signal group or not, I don't know, but if we have a temple Signal group and we post the notices there. So, would encourage you to join that. They are actually reading the Kemetic Ancient Egyptian Bible is what they use. And that is our Assyrian resurrection myth and story that they use during the devotional worship, reading the scripture as well as the gloss by Seba Dja. So you'll be welcome to join that as well.
Do it.
Dua to you. And I just wanted to, Bastiku share the proverb, which goes along with that Sage Amenemopet teaching. What is the source of sadness but feebleness of the mind? What gives it power but the want of reason? I was trying to find the scripture again that I was on. What is a source of sadness but feebleness of mind? What gives it power but the want of reason? Rouse yourself to come back, and it quits the field before you strike. So in a way, this is what we are trying to do with these techniques. The Seba Dja's disengagement technique, the stopgap technique, is just we're trying to bring the mind to a sense of actually awareness that this process is this RU's coming out, and this process is patterns about to repeat. And once the awareness is there, then even one doesn't have to even go through all these steps. They happen in an automatic way, and the issue disappears. So as one becomes more introspective and more awareness is brought to these patterns, then it doesn't take all of this process. But if we don't have a process to engage it in a stepwise fashion, then we can sometimes continually be overwhelmed. And so even the stopgap measure, it's I would attribute it to say it's my conceptual framework, how my mind works. For when I read Sage Amenemopet's teachings, these are the images, and this is the way my mind processes it. And your mind will process it differently. Seba Dja's mind processes a little differently. And so just whatever your technique is, you may already have one. If you don't have one, you can try these different techniques. And it could be done for gross impurities that are being talked about in that particular precept, but also even for more of the subtle impurities, even for it's really the same thing we're talking about Sekau and Sekem, and remembering and not forget it. It's really another way to say Sao Nebuchadnezzar, awareness of Nebuchadnezzar. It's just noticing when it shifts and bringing it back. Sekau, remember, and then don't forget. When you forget, you bring it back. And so these are the big forgetfulnesses that comes out in these sadnesses and these dejections, these deep emotions. It's the big forgetfulnesses. And so we're dealing with those more gross forgetfulnesses, but it's the same subtle aspect to deal with even the subtle forgetfulnesses. So what is the source of sadness but feebleness of mind? So that goes back to what Sage Amenemopet had pointed out in that scripture that I read. If those who need to leave, you are welcome to leave, and I will be ending just shortly, but just to correlate it to the scripture, which is what I wanted to do, right? That same weakness that is being talked about here, just correlating it, would lead to mental weakness. So when the proverb says, what is the source of mental weakness but feebleness is mind, it's talking about a mind that is doing this Seha, is turning away, is turning down, is forsaking the immanence, the very presence in the here and now of the divine. And not only that, while in the presence of the divine, still turning away. We talked about that on Friday. It's like a crazy thing to do. How can a fish turn away from the water the fish is swimming in? So that's up for your reflection and do off. I don't know when I see you again, but the notices will go up. That's all.
Dja, Seba Dja, and the recording is available. I will put that information in the chat from a recording from the last class. It is posted on the website.
Do a Sarmat. I don't know if I can have music today or music because to play us out for those who are able to stay on. I think I sent it. It's just a different computer and we haven't caught up sharing things. One moment. I need to get the music on this computer anyway, so I will see if I can find it. This is the Nebuchadnezzar by Shamsarit. Found it. I just have to get it. One of her themes, Nebuchadnezzar, Kepra, Asar, Om. That's it. What's up, everyone? Peace and blessings.